Hey, welcome everybody to the Culture Works live stream series. I am Chester Elton, your host, along with my dear friend and co-author, Adrian Gostick. I think that's the way they do it in the professional wrestling
Yeah, that's the way it reminds me of my days in professional wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Were you the hero or the villain? I'm just curious.
Always the villain. Yeah, look at the black. Yeah, come on.
I know I was going to say you're dressed like either a villain or Johnny Cash. I can't decide. Hey, we're delighted to have you for a few minutes today. And thank you for giving up your time. We always appreciate you. We know you could be doing a million things and you chose to be with us. As you know, we love to talk about culture. That is the umbrella that Adrian and I, for over 20 years now, have been studying. What makes a great culture? And of course, Adrian, in every organization, they develop a dominant kind of theme to their culture. And you've been doing a lot of writing lately about a customer-focused culture. So why don't you tell us why that's so important right now?
Well, I mean, is there a company in the 25 years we've been doing this that we've been in that doesn't say they're customer focused?
Right.
If it's a hospital, they say we're patient focused. If it's a retail, everybody wants to focus on their customer. The problem is, in most cases, employees don't really know who the customer is. If I work in manufacturing, am I making it for the reseller or the end user? And is the customer really my boss, or really? There's so many questions about this. And so we had a wise leader that we're about to feature in our podcast, Mark Servadidio, who was the president of International for Avis for years, who said there's two types of organizations. One is rules-based. Right. And you make people fit into your rules. Even though we think we're customer focused, we're really not. These are our rules and you follow them. The second is a customer-centric organization that is more nimble and it moves where customers need them to go. That's what we're talking about today. How do we become a little bit more customer-centric?
And so it is interesting. I love that conversation we have with Mark, because so often you'll get so caught up in your rules and making your customers fit the rules that you forget that actually you're supposed to be serving that customer. So you've got 7 ways to develop this. Let's go with number 1, which is give them more face time. I mean, literally sit down and ask my customers questions. What does that mean?
Yeah, it really is. It's how often are you talking with your customers, either on the phone or in person? Not just through surveys, though that's important. Sometimes, we're 8.2 on the so-and-so survey index. Well, great. What are they saying? What are your people saying? And of course, part of this we'll get into in a minute, but is monitoring social media. People will tell you things there in anonymity that is, I remember, talking to somebody and, that I was traveling with, and he had a problem with Delta, and he put it on his social media, and he actually misspelled Delta, D-E. ELA or Detla. But he said within minutes, somebody from Delta responded saying, I'm so sorry you had that bad experience. And he says, it just sort of cooled me off. And they were watching even misspellings of their name to see how customers were feeling.
It is so interesting, and it's such a common sense practice, right? If you want to know what your customers are thinking, ask them. And yet it's amazing how often we don't do that simple thing. All right. Number 2 on your list is prioritize their requests.
Yeah. Because this is, you're going to start talking to customers and they'll have 50 things they want you to work on. I want you to work on this thing. And it's great. That's wonderful. I've taken notes. Now, if you had to prioritize these, which is the most important? And all of a sudden you start figuring out these are the things they really care about. Because of course we want our vendor to do all these things for us. Most of them aren't really practical.
Right. And get the big things done first. Number 3, of course, is our favorite, is thank them. Make sure you thank your customers. And again, this seems so simple and common sense, and yet it's often uncommonly practiced, where people say, hey, by the way, thanks for buying my product, or thanks for using my service. I learned this really young. My sister-in-law at the time, she said, do you mow lawns? And I said, yeah. She said, have you ever thought of this? She said that these kids in my neighborhood, they mow the lawn, and then when they give you the little bill, they give you a daffodil.
Oh.
And I thought, that is genius.
It
So,
really is.
of course, I didn't do it because I wasn't mowing that many lawns, but it always stuck with me that even mowing the lawns.
Yeah.
Um, and I talk a little bit more about thanking, and then I've got a great case study we can talk
Yeah,
about.
no, I'd love to hear from you on this one because, yeah, it's, how often do we send, somebody sends in, especially to important customers, they send in some comments and things and they go, oh, I don't want to seem untoward by bribing them. Nah, everybody likes like a gift basket or something. Food is always a positive, right? So yeah, make sure you're thanking. And the best thanks of all is letting them know what you've done with their suggested change. Oh, this has been a tough one. We know we need to do this. We're working on it. We think it's going to be in 2.0 of our product, etc. Let them know that you've taken their suggestions seriously.
Yeah. See, I just recently had a great experience with this fabulous restaurant group. It's called Snooze. They've got about 60 restaurants. So if there's not one near you, there's one coming soon because they're expanding like crazy. Their culture is so joyful and so customer focused. I mean, they really do come in. They ask the obvious questions. Do you have any allergies? Is there anything we shouldn't be feeding you that might kill you? Right? That kind of thing. They're always along the way, though. The waitress, from when they greet you at the restaurant to when they seat you and going through, they're just so joyful about, hey, how are things going? What do you like? And I always like to ask for suggestions from the waitress, right? And what I loved about Snooze is the waitress had actually tried everything on the menu. I hate it when you go to a restaurant and say, what do you think of this? Oh, I've never really had that. I said, well, then how can you.
Yeah.
And the thanking along the way. I've never talked to anybody that's gone to a Snooze restaurant that didn't leave feeling appreciated. And that's what thanking is all about, right? If I feel appreciated, I'm going to come back.
And I think one of the things, that they're so happy is they've got that full bar there. It's a breakfast place. Like, yeah. So yeah, you took me there. Yeah. The next one, we talked a little bit about this idea of listen on social media. If you are not doing this, and it's amazing how many organizations don't do this, assign somebody to do it, rotate it if you have to, and make sure that once a month or so, your person assigned to this is giving you a report of what people are saying. You won't be able to affect it all, but if you are not putting your ear to the ground on social media, you're missing out.
Yeah. Do you remember our friend, her name escapes me right now, who's working in healthcare. And she said we would often type into the Google search, our company sucks, and see what would come up.
Yeah.
And then they would reach out to those people that were posting on Twitter or Facebook or wherever it might be. I thought it was brilliant. And she said, listen, you should do that at least once a week because that's what people are saying about your company.
Exactly. And that's where you find the stuff that you can actually, this low-hanging fruit you can really address.
Yeah. You talk about listening to your front line. Nobody knows better what's going on with your clients than your frontline people, right?
Well, this is something that you taught me years ago when, you started out in sales and you'd say, look, I'm in sales. I'm actually working with customers every single day. And they're telling me this, this, and this. And you said you'd sometimes talk to headquarters and they go, no, Chester, you don't get it. That's not really that big. But I'm talking to them. You're just making the stuff. and you got frustrated sometimes. So, are we really listening to the front line and giving them a voice?
Yeah. There's nothing more frustrating to your front line as well when they keep giving you reality checks and you don't listen to them. A customer forum is always a great idea.
This really is. This is nowadays with Zoom and Teams, et cetera. And Skype, you can do this remotely, which is terrific. Where you're about to launch a new product, you're about to launch a new initiative, et cetera. Bring your customer forum together. And you can have, a hand-picked group of, say, less than a dozen of your customers, because not all of them are going to be able to make it. But they're going to feel valued that you're inviting them to give opinions. Hey, we're about to launch this new product. We've seen this just work amazingly because all of a sudden, the insular, we think we know best inside culture, you're showing it to customers and they go, have you thought about this, this, and this? And it's always. Yeah. But the thing is, you've got to listen when you do this.
Absolutely. Which brings you to the big finale here, which is bring clients to your people. I love it when it's not just testimonials, you bring live people in and talk about it. Particularly in service related, whether you're in the restaurant business, the hoteliers and so on, where you've got a lot of interaction, you can bring people in and the stories that people tell.
Yeah.
that make it really live in your heart, not just your mind, right?
We've seen this done really well. I mean, you and I have presented many times to Johnson and Johnson or to Boehringer Ingelheim or these big pharma companies, and almost inevitably they will bring in somebody who's been, their life has been changed by the drug that they have developed. We've also seen it in the hospitals where they'll bring in a patient, and and it's really touching. You and I just spoke in front of 4,000, leaders at a big healthcare company in the Bay Area, and they brought in that patient who had, and standing ovation, tears in the audience as she told her story. So this is really powerful, but it doesn't have to be in something like healthcare. It can be in, you're a manufacturer, bring in somebody who is using your product. You're, like you said, retail or service industry. There's a lot that, powerful things that can happen when you start listening in person to your customers.
Yeah. And the thing I love so much about those experiences is it just energizes your workforce because
Mhm.
they can connect the dots to what they do every day. And, like the one that we did at J&J, where
Mhm.
she said, because the accounting guys and the lawyers got this test through so fast,
Yeah.
it was in time for my father to be in the test group. And it saved his life. I mean, come on. See, because often the accountants and the lawyers, they don't get to hear that part. They just know they've got a stack of papers that they've got to get through the FDA. So, yeah, I mean, just really an insightful article. Adrian writes regularly for Forbes. You should be following if you're not. Correct that flaw in your daily behavior. But just a quick review: give them more face time. If you're going to be customer focused, prioritize their requests, thank them, see what people are saying about you on social media, listen to your front line, create that customer forum, and then bring your clients in to see your people. 7 great steps to really create a customer focused culture. And when you've got a customer focused culture, people aren't just customers, right? They're raving fans.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for. I mean, that's what Snooze did for us in Nashville. Do you remember Aiden, those flights of pancakes?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. So I see Jeremy joining us from Snooze. And so, yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us today. The thing is, if we had to kind of sum this up, is in good cultures, people talk about what you do and how you do it. And every company, you have to do that. In the great ones, you remind people why we do what we do. We are serving real people here. We're not just making, I remember going into a company that made basketball standards, but they said, no, we're bringing families closer together. That's what we do. And so isn't it amazing? When you really think about what's your why and how does that relate to real people who use your products?
Right. I mean, WD-40, we create lasting memories. And you go, come on, it's grease in a can. What are you kidding? And yet, their profitability, their retention, their engagement scores are ridiculously high.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we always like to keep these kind of tight and short because we know you've all got busy days. It is Friday. We hope you have a great weekend. And, underneath our umbrella of culture is always that common thread of gratitude. So whether you're customer facing or you're just on a team, find a way for a little random act of kindness today. Go cheer somebody up and make their day. And if it's a customer, great. If it can't be a customer, maybe it's somebody you work with or even somebody in your neighborhood. A little bit of gratitude goes a long way. And as always, as we wrap up, Adrian, I will give you the last word.
Hey, I'm delighted everybody to join us today, and good luck in building your culture. And let us know how we can help you.
Absolutely. Cheers. I guess I did get in the last word. Cheers.